Welcome once again to a new episode of Truth Spoken Here. And today, my guest is a young man that I met probably about 10 years ago.
Was it 10?
Yeah, about 10 years, yep. Mr. Jeff Liberty, our local blues legend.
Okay,
and,
I guess I am.
Yeah. And that thing about Jeff, he's just the nicest guy that you ever want to meet and stuff. And so I'll talk about some other things I found out about him. I've been knowing him 10 years. Some other things that I found out about him recently. But welcome, Jeff, to Spoken Here.
Thanks, Eddie.
So, Jeff, tell us a little bit about how you got started in music and stuff. You know.
Well, I guess performance would have to come first. When I was in, I always liked singing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I always enjoyed singing when I was growing up, and when I was in high school, I was in the theater department a lot. So I did a lot of acting, and my plan was that I was gonna, go to college as a theater major.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to pay for college, I joined the U.S. Army to get the college fund. And while I was in the Army, the guy across the hall from me played guitar, and I was like, "Well, you show me a few chords." I was just thinking, yeah, maybe I'd be able to play some songs or whatever. I didn't really think much about it.
You hadn't even played any musical instrument prior to that?
I think I had a guitar when I was 7, but I think I held it wrong. I held it lefty, and I never learned anything.
Okay.
So it was probably about 20. When I was about 20, when I really started trying to learn how to play guitar. And then I remember when I first strummed an open G chord for the first time, and I didn't get any of the string buzz for the first time, and went, and I was like,
you owned to something.
it was like I just made music. It felt so good. It was so weird how that eluded me for so long.
Like an epiphany.
And then it was like it hit me like the feeling of making music for the very first time, and then that grabbed me from that time forward.
Because I remember my first song that I learned was one of those 3-chord songs, Three Dog Night song.
Right.
Never been to Spain.
Okay, yeah.
And so I thought the G, C, and D were like the first chords I learned to.
Those are the ones, right? And then
Yeah.
when you start, it's like, but from there, and I actually have students now, and I tell them, you're going to decide how far you walk on this path,
right?
And I said, I'll give you the tools, that you need or whatever, but it's really up to you how far you want to go. Because when I first started, I just wanted to be able to play a few songs at a campfire,
right?
But I kept getting sucked in.
And it's a cool way to get girls too.
And more, yeah, for sure. But then I got hooked into like Jimmy Page and stuff. The Led Zeppelin, of course. That was something that really grabbed me. Very guitar heavy music.
Especially like I love what people talk like about Led Zeppelin. A lot of them like the stuff with Jimmy on electric, but that acoustic stuff. That's the stuff. That's the stuff to learn.
For sure.
Because I think his idol was a guy named Bert Johnson.
Okay.
I think he's from Pentangle or one of those groups.
Okay.
Bert Johnson. There was another one, John Renbourn, I think.
He used a lot of those open tunings and stuff. And he discovered a lot of cool stuff, like on the Rain song.
Yeah.
The stuff that he plays on the Rain song, that's a really weird tuning. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's definitely not a standard deviation. But that's what led me to the blues, because the very first Led Zeppelin album, I remember reading the album credits, and a lot of the songs they just mentioned
by Willie Dixon.
And I was like, who's Willie Dixon? And then I found out, the first thing I found out about Willie Dixon was that he was Chuck Berry's bass player.
Right.
All right. So, and I think, okay, so he's a bass player, but he wrote some songs. And then I go, he wrote every song.
And he played stand-up bass too.
He did.
A lot in the studio, yeah.
He wrote for Muddy. He wrote for Howlin' Wolf.
Oh, yeah.
And then he obviously wrote for Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, and a bunch of other bands before he even knew he was doing it.
He had so many bands that covered his stuff. Like I think he wrote Foghat's song, "I Just Want to Make Love to You." I think it's one of his songs.
He wrote that. He had a business card, and it said, "Willie Dixon, I am the blues." That's what was on his business card, and he was right.
Yes.
He contributed more to blues than anybody, and he was one of the few guys that actually made and kept his money.
His publishing and all that, yeah.
And he was smart,
yes.
And he didn't let you see that movie Cadillac Records, he didn't get fooled by that.
A lot of those artists got ripped off,
right
then.
For sure.
That's what I love about today's time. Like now, I think this happens more in the hip hop genre. Like you got these guys, like the hip hoppers that came along.
Right.
Those guys, a lot of them are learning the business, and so like y'all don't see, like you see, well, unless they're frivolous and foolish. Frivolous and with the money and stuff. You're not gonna see a lot of those guys ending up broke and stuff.
Yeah.
They find ways. They also find ways to to parlay that into the other careers, other aspects of that.
I think there's always going to be both elements.
Yes.
You're going to have the elements of people, and you know what it is? It goes down to an expression, one statement. It's a phrase that people use, and if this matters to you more than a bunch of other things in life, is like, did you make it? Mm-hmm. What does that mean to you? Like you say, well, I just want to make it, right? And you know, when you're a young artist, you probably even used it yourself.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I just want to make it. Well, what is that? Because you can sell these people a pipe dream. You know what I mean? These upcoming artists, like a lot of people that go on The Voice and stuff like that, they've never worked in the bar business.
Right.
You know, booking their gigs and getting their money and doing all that stuff, handling the money side of it. Mm-hmm. They just say, I just want to make it. And what happens to them? They get signed, they're talented, but all they bring to the table is talent. They need someone to write the songs. They need someone to arrange the music. They need somebody to, book the gigs, do all that stuff. And it just whittles away at their percentage. What was it? What was that band? The three
TLC.
TLC, and the small percentage they were getting.
And people were mad. At L.A. Reid and Babyface, but they were the ones writing the songs. I mean, that's what the money.
That's what you need me for.
You're publishing and all that.
Well, you look at a guy like Prince, who did everything.
Oh yes.
And he benefited.
And he changed the game too.
Right. So if you have one talent, right. I always, I like to go back to the vaudeville entertainers, They could do everything.
Oh, yeah.
And probably the last sort of holdover from vaudeville was Sammy Davis Jr.
I was going to say Leon Redbone.
Okay,
because...
But Sammy Davis was a kid in vaudeville.
Right.
But he could tap dance, he could play trumpet, he could act, he could sing. He had pistol skills.
And man, it's amazing. It's amazing you mentioned that about him playing trumpet, because I seen... When I think before he died, on the Jerry Lewis telethon, just come on Labor Day. When I remember seeing him one year. I knew he was a singer and I knew he could dance, but he played almost everything on that band. So I seen him play trumpet,
play drums.
Yeah, I think he got on the vibraphone. I think the only thing I didn't see him play was I don't think he played the bass or anything or guitar.
And he was an expert pistol shot too.
Oh wow!
Like in the shows, where they would have the guy doing the trick shots and stuff like that. He could do all that too. Because in vaudeville, you had to do everything.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think Sammy was, like, to me, hands down. I say Sammy and Charlie Chaplin, hands down, two greatest entertainers of the first half of the 20th century.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Charlie Chaplin, great talent.
For sure.
Okay, so you named Jimmy Page. So who were some of your other influences as a songwriter musician?
Well, I have to trace it too, because I went through a certain phase. So I started just playing acoustic guitar, and it was like at that point I didn't have any influences. Then got into Jimmy Page. That got me into blues, and then I kind of went into like a lot of the all the blues-based bands. They might have been rock bands, but they were based in blues, like the Doors, and bands like
the San Francisco bands,
early
like Moby Grape and all that stuff.
Right, early Fleetwood Mac, things like that.
The Peter Green era,
right?
Yes.
For sure. And then, but then I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yes.
And that got me.
Now that was definitely a game changer.
One of the things that he had, but at the same time I was hearing guys like Eric Johnson and Joe Satriani, very sophisticated players.
Yes.
But
not the feel.
But the thing about Stevie Ray, what grabbed me with him was his control over the note. He owned it. Like, he played with so much conviction, and he had every bit of vibrato.
Yeah.
He was the most intentional player I've ever heard when it came to the note. It's almost like he didn't play anything by accident.
Yes.
And you'll hear a guy like, I'm not deciding one's better than the other, but for my personal taste, you hear a guy like Jerry Garcia, he's just noodling. He's floating around playing all different notes, and in his own right is very talented at that. Surfing, he's surfing with the notes.
Yeah.
But I tended to choose more of the Stevie Ray style, or B.B. King, plays that one note.
Yeah.
Boom! He'll hit that one note and just give you goosebumps.
Or like somebody like Carlos Santana, same thing. Clapton, same thing.
Very played the word that I would use, because it was like one of my early guitar mentors. He used play with conviction.
Yes.
And that's what I would say with those guys.
Because like you think about in the 80s, mid 80s, and early 90s, you had all these guys coming out, and like I used to get Guitar Player magazine.
How fast can you play?
Yeah, how fast can you play and stuff like that. Like it's like you couldn't tell you couldn't tell one from the other and stuff.
Well, do you remember? You talk about Guitar Player magazine. Remember on the cover, they always would have this monster spider chord. Like the guy would be making some chord, or his hand would be covering like 7 frets, and you don't even know what chord that is.
Yeah.
Right. I always said, if I ever get on the cover of Guitar Player, I'm just going to play an open C chord. That'll be the chord I play.
You probably see these posts on Facebook. They'll have somebody fingering a chord. They're like, "Can you tell what chord this is?"
Right.
So sometimes every now and then they have a diagram and stuff.
Right.
I'm like, man, get out of here.
I have gotten more geeky in terms of the music theory. Like I have kind of gone down that rabbit hole more as I teach. The more I teach, I get the students will ask why, and I want to answer them, and then I go down those rabbit holes too.
Now, to tell you another thing about Jeff, when I went out to see him, I think I hadn't seen you play in a while, and I seen you play. I was this guy said it's so eclectic, man, because like one thing he threw in that really surprised you when you played "I'm Beginning to See the Light."
Oh yeah,
old jazz standard.
I love that
so
song.
I'm like, wow. Then the stuff you'll do is sort of like similar to Leon Redbone, that stuff, the novelty songs. Yeah. So if y'all are living in the Columbia area, anyway, you all over the state, don't you?
Pretty much. I do the I-20 circuit. So like I go Camden, Columbia, Lexington, Aiken, Augusta. I basically play all along I-20.
So if y'all are see Jeff Liberty's name on the bill, I guarantee he's worth to see. So I'm gonna give him a little endorsement here.
For sure, thank you. And come on out and have a good time. For sure.
Now Jeff. Now we see a lot of AI playing a role in the production of music, even to the point of creating virtual artists, which are AI generated. How do you feel this has impacted the marketability of real artists such as you and others, and myself included?
Now, I think whenever it's like a surplus creates a vacuum, and a vacuum creates a void. So if you have so much of one thing, then you have a void of another. So if AI is saturating the market, that makes people that don't even approach AI more rare. Now you have to decide, is rarity valuable? And I think most people, even though they might not know it, if they discover it, they're going to go, "Ooh, what's this?" So something that maybe 30 years ago you would see a guy like when I do my solo act, I play foot drums with my feet. I play acoustic guitar, and then I also play harmonica. I do it all at the same time. So I'm like one of those old school street musician one-man bands.
Right.
Now that really works in the area of jazz and blues, because most people that are jazz and blues purists, they don't want nothing to do with AI.
Right.
They don't want to go see a blues karaoke show, for example. You know, they want organic instruments. So I think in one hand, as long as I think you find your market, and now how do I feel AI affects it as far as from an artistic standpoint? Well, I think.
Well, I was talking about more from like are real artists having to compete? Gonna have to compete with that?
Yeah, I don't think AI can really grab the human spirit. I think people might not recognize it, but they're going to know something's different. I'll give you an example. I was telling somebody, what kind of music I like, and I said like R&B, and they said, "You mean like rap?" I go, "Well, I mean like the original version of R&B."
Yeah, rap's like a subgenre of R&B, if even that.
Right. I said. So I understand from your generation that if I say R&B, you're going to think that. I said, but if you've ever seen Otis Redding perform live and just the sheer raw power,
yes,
it might baffle you, but it's going to grab you. Yeah. I don't think AI is capable of duplicating the human spirit, and because of that, the real good stuff the cream will always rise to the top.
It's like in jazz back in the 80s when Kenny G came out, late 80s.
Right. And people say, "I love jazz."
I love jazz. Who listens to Kenny G?
Yeah,
man, I'm not saying Kenny G's not a great musician. I'm not taking anything away from him, but it's like when I think of like jazz, the real jazz. Then you got the other stuff that arguably could be called jazz.
Sure.
But you think about those classic records like "I Love Supreme," "Kind of Blue," Miles Davis, and stuff the John Coltrane stuff. Those stuff, a lot of that stuff was recorded live in the studio, and there was no click track or anything like that.
There's in the movie Bird, You know, which by the way, Forrest Whitaker has always been one of my favorite actors. He's
Yeah,
done
that's a great
so
movie.
many good roles. I think he only has one Oscar, which is a crime. I mean, you look at all the roles he's played to it.
Did he get one for that?
No, I don't know if he did.
I think he might have got a nomination.
He got one for something, and I remember when he got. I can't remember what it was, but I was like, finally, Forrest Whitaker gets an Oscar. He's done so many good things, right?
Yes.
So he's playing, Charlie Parker, and they took this cut from him. It's a Charlie Parker cut, and of course they do the syncing or whatever, because and they're in a small room playing this piece. I can't remember what piece it is.
Cherokee.
But you can hear the breath on the reed. It's so quiet, and that is actually the Charlie Parker version.
Was it Cherokee? What Charlie Parker turned into Coco?
No, I don't think it was.
Okay.
It was a short piece. It was he didn't really get too beboppy in the piece. It was a very slow feel. It might have been under 2 minutes in the original recording. But when you listen to that cut, you can hear his breath bouncing off the reed, which is now you listen to Kenny G, and it sounds like everything's digital or whatever. It's going through processor, it's compressed. You don't hear any of that.
Right.
They're probably like, "Ooh, get that sound out of there. We got to get rid of that." That's the human part, you know.
Yeah.
So I think if I notice that,
Yeah.
then that appeals to my value system. And I think that people that really truly care about music and are affected by music the same way, say I'm affected by it. Through the course of your career, if you call it a career or a path, whatever, you're going to meet people that don't play. They don't play instruments, but when you talk to them how much they love music, you'll be like, that guy should have been a musician. The way he feels. He just never gave himself permission to do that. But I meet people like that all the time, and you can just tell, like they read the liner notes on albums, and they know this and that.
Right.
They love music
Right.
so much that you're like, how come you never picked up an instrument? Self-confidence. Maybe I just didn't feel like it or whatever. But they have a musician's value system. I'll tell you that.
Okay. That's interesting. Now, I noticed from your social media posts that we already talked about you all over the place. Never seem to be lacking as far as having gigs. Now, is that the result of hard work, good marketing, a combination thereof, or something else altogether?
I worked really, really hard in the early days. When I didn't have a car, I would just walk and try to get gigs, or I would if I needed gas. I remember when I was an early musician. I've had day jobs. I've lived on that other side. But when I committed to being a full-time musician, I used to go to the plasma clinic to get money so I could put gas in my car.
Oh, wow.
I've walked that path. So I've done all that.
You paid your dues.
I've done all that, yeah. But then as I get older, I wonder how much of that was really necessary. Was I so full of self-will that I figured I had to do it? I was the only way to do this. It's like, and there's an interesting thing here, because now I don't do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Now you could say, well, I planted the seeds, so now the seeds are bearing fruit. That's one thing, but there's also there's also part of walking the path as a musician brought me face to face with a true connection with my spiritual beliefs. It's not just religion, not just in a religious sense, because I was raised to be religious, but they didn't teach me anything about that. But actually walking the path with faith that everything was going to work out okay, and trusting that voice inside me that was guiding me to play music and commit to that was divinely inspired. I learned a great deal about myself, the path of music, but also I grew my spiritual beliefs in that process, because you can't do it without faith.
That's true.
And so it's the most valuable thing I ever did, because I was risking everything with it. And I was a homeless street musician in Memphis for a little while,
Really?
And I lived in my car. I actually lived in my car in Memphis, and I got exposed to a whole bunch of stuff that required faith,
Now, I remember when I met you at the laundromat, I think it was first time I met
at the laundromat.
And you had that band then.
I did have a band.
You had a bunch of your stuff in there. But you weren't homeless at that time, but you just had all your stuff, your gear packed in there, right?
Right. That was more my just road van. I could live in that van. I could live in that van for 3 or 4 days on the road or whatever. But at that time, I lived in a bus that was parked. I lived in a Greyhound bus that I had parked.
Really?
And I had remodeled the inside to be like an RV or whatever. So I lived in that bus for like 8 years. So,
during the time I met you, that's when you
yeah.
were living in the bus? Okay,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So next question is like, how do you feel about the current state of world affairs, and how does one remain hopeful amidst all this ongoing turmoil we see daily?
You know, I'm glad that you asked me the last question, because that like started shifting gears towards the spiritual realm.
Yeah.
This as passive as this statement is going to sound, it might be the most controversial thing I say. We see what our faith allows us to see.
Yeah.
And I've been in situations where if I wanted to see doom and gloom, I would see doom and gloom.
Right.
And if I want to see hope, then I would see hope. So I don't think the state of the world is based on what I'm paying attention to, because I'm going to tell you, I've seen things in the material world alter because I changed my viewpoint. And I would only, I know it sounds like I'm being like an ostrich with my head buried in the sand.
No, because you know what? Psalm 82 tells us, like it's Psalm 82, tells us that ye are the gods of this earth. Let's talk about man.
Yes.
Man is a little manifestation of God. Man is a little God, actually, with the God with a little g, of course.
Yeah.
And being a little God, man has some of those same powers, like the ability to speak things in existence, good or bad, in your life.
Sure.
We have that, the ability to manifest things.
So I would say that to you, but also me, because I need the reminder daily,
Mm-hmm.
multiple times through the day. If I see something in the world, if I see something
Mm-hmm.
evil, or if I call, or whatever, despair or whatever, if I see it, I ask myself, does that exist in heaven? And if it doesn't exist in heaven, then I know where I'm dwelling. I know right at that moment whether I'm dwelling.
Right.
See, because if I'm in dwelling, I'm not going to see that.
Right.
Okay, so it's kind of like this. Like I say, this is the part where people say, like, I have no touch of reality. But no, I think we create reality, and I think we do it collectively. I really do think we do it collectively.
Yeah.
So I see things, but the more like ugliness or whatever that I see, shouldn't that be more of an alarm from me about what I need to do to like, if I'm seeing it?
Yeah.
Does that, because I've seen really wonderful things too.
Right.
So what was the difference? Was where am I dwelling? Where is my subconscious dwelling right now? And I think, I'm not ignoring it. But what I am saying is, I'm asking myself, how much of this am I responsible for simply by my worldview?
Right.
How much am I creating?
Right.
Or what? Because I think it's called scotoma. The mind sees what it wants to see.
Okay.
And you ever see that drawing where they it's like, here, it's a picture, and you say it's an old woman or is it a young woman, but it's
right,
depending on what you want to see,
depending on the vantage point, or you look at it from
and it's the same picture.
It might be a dog or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And then there's these two groups of people. I think they used to do it in a classroom. They would be arguing fiercely with each other about, no, it's not a young woman. You're crazy. It's an old woman. And then the professor or whatever let it go on for a little while, and then he would say, okay, I just want to show y'all, you're both right, but you're convinced that in order for you to be right, they have to be wrong.
Now that's interesting, because with religions and stuff, a lot of times we run that problem all the time and stuff with
I think you're right. I think that's a big part of it. It's like, if I have faith in what I have faith, and you tell me you have faith in something else, then I'm obligated to prove you wrong so I can believe in what I believe.
Yeah.
It's just like, wait a minute.
Yep.
Remember, wait a minute. God's a parent, right? He's a parent.
Yeah.
So if the parent has two children and they both like say they're going to both draw a picture of a bunny rabbit, and they're going to say, which one's better? What's the parent going to do? Right. You're right. Yeah, right? That's what parents do.
No, they're both. I can't even decide. Or something like
right.
that. Right.
That's what parents do.
Now, see,
they're not going to say you're right. It sucks.
Now, like I said, I've known Jeff. Like I said, I've known Jeff. I've known you like about 10 years.
Yeah.
And only recently did I learn that you were an ordained minister. So tell us how did you get to be? How that come to be?
So okay, hopefully I've explained enough about the path of walking, being a musician, and trying to walk that path grew my faith. I mean, I might have had a tiny bit of faith, but it became my essential, like the biggest tool in my toolbox by walking that path. Yeah. Yes. So because I would see things that might seem to threaten, and then they would work out. I've been, and the faith always was the rescue. So it just grew and grew and grew. Along this path, I remember I was performing my band, and my keyboard player, he was a friend of mine I was in the Army. He was living in Pennsylvania. He came down here to play in the band, and he's sitting there, and he says, you could be an ordained minister, if you want. There's the Universal Life Church in Modesto, California. And I said,
was that the one started by Sun Mean? Or?
No, it wasn't him. No, it's a different one. But I was intrigued by this, and I said, really? And he goes, and then he said, well, and I said, something about qualifications. And he goes, listen, it's not, whether it's qualifies or not, he goes, from everything you've told me about, and just the way the way you talk and the way you view the world, he said, it's certainly appropriate. And when he said it like that, remember, here I am I'm praying about every decision I make anyway. So, every decision involves a prayer and saying, God, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And so you get the reinforcement from multiple things.
And you think about the people from the Bible that like, Zacchaeus, the little guy that climbed the tree because he wants Jesus. He was too short.
Yeah.
Zacchaeus was too short. Abraham felt that he was too old.
Right.
They all had shortcomings. Moses stuttered.
Yeah.
So I mean, God takes the unqualified and qualifies them.
That's true.
He does qualify.
He doesn't. He doesn't choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so in that way I did, and I've done a bunch of weddings and stuff like that, like in the time.
If I get married, I'll definitely keep you in mind.
Yeah, for sure. And one of them was my mother. My mother was getting married to this guy. She's like, "Will you do the wedding?" I also did my nephew's wedding.
Okay.
I've done lots of weddings like that, and it just became it's just something. My value system is basically what did it. To get me to the point where I thought, I do kind of think in that matter. And here's the thing, I was talking to people, a friend of mine, he said, he goes to church and he says, we talk about, what the Bible says and everything. He goes, but you actually live that way. Mm-hmm. Like you don't just look at the Word of God as hypothetical. Like you literally function in that manner.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you what gave me that was I lost everything.
Really?
At a certain point in my life.
That's the time when you were homeless or you were talking about
stuff? Well, no, some other things. And, things like, I don't want to get too specific.
Right.
But, I have been in a moment. Let me just tell you, this is the best way to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would have to involve details.
Right.
That involve other people, if I was giving you too much. So, I didn't choose to be a Christian. I discovered that I was. In other words, in my moment of absolute despair, and I mean not just earthly, I mean despair. Like when I was in my mind face to face with the ultimate decision.
So you had nowhere to turn but to the Lord.
Well, the first word that came out of my mouth, when I was so overwhelmed that I just said, Jesus. Now, I didn't say it like a prayer, right? But it was a choice that I had to make. And I said, Jesus. That's the word that came out of my mouth. Because I was overwhelmed with the choice. And it messed with me forever, And a lot of this could have been, created by, the drug addiction stuff that was going on at the time. But here's the thing. Years later, I always felt guilty about being in that situation that, where losing everything,
Right.
And I remember I was walking down the side of the road and I saw this car come by with a license plate or a personalized plate or whatever on the front where you don't need the actual number, but you can put whatever. And it said, the answer is Jesus. And so That's when I was like, I got it right.
Confirmation.
No, because that's what I said.
Yeah.
It would be like if you're on Jeopardy or on a game show,
Yeah.
and they're like, asking this question, and you just blurted out some answer, and it turned out to be the right answer.
Was that like confirmation, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
But also, it's bigger than choice. I didn't choose to be Christian. I found out at my core that's who I am. In my moment of greatest despair, the first thing I reached for was Jesus. And therefore, that's how I knew. I was like, okay, that's it.
Well, the Bible tells us He chose us from the beginning, from the foundation of creation. So,
yeah. That's what I mean. That's when I knew it was absolute.
Right.
And so because of that, everything was built from there. So when you talk about, people getting torn down, getting stripped down to nothing, and getting rebuilt, as God would have. I mean, I was very malleable at that point because I had nothing else. Everything else I tried had not worked. Self-will had failed me completely.
Right. That's the thing is, we got to get ourselves out of the way and let God do His work in us. But
sure.
so how, like, one thing I beat myself up is like I mean, you might not know about. I have a terrible mouth. I am Christian, but I'm one of those Christians that will curse you out. Man, I was at a funeral yesterday. This lady in front of me. She was real annoying, man. Like, she had insulted my friend. My friend's like real easygoing guy and stuff. And he just got up like, they were singing. He got up like they started singing along, clapping and stuff.
Yeah.
She turned and tell him, "I wish you quit shaking my seat. Quit shaking my seat and stuff." So like, I'm like, it just, and the look she gave me, just like I was almost tempted to curse in the church because I was like, well, because like he was telling me, he was just telling me, but trying to whisper, he's like, man, some mean people in this church and stuff. So like, I was just like waiting for her to turn around and look because he said it loud enough that I think he might have meant for her to hear it.
I think social situations are always a challenge.
But she never did. She never did turn around. I'm glad she didn't because I might have said something.
You felt like you were about to.
I might have said something I would have regretted and something. And so I can be. I just like I got a low tolerance for foolishness still. Now But what advice do you have for somebody like me that has a bad tongue? I know because like I read about. I'm telling you, my go-to book in the Bible is James, a little short book, 5 chapters.
Yeah.
It talks about the tongue, how no man can tame it, and it also talks about how blessings and curses proceed from the same mouth. This ought not to be so.
Yeah, I think about. I'm not trying to diminish the specific lessons that are in the Bible, but I look for common patterns, And there's 2 real common patterns that I see. One, don't fear anything.
Yeah.
Fear is your enemy. I've even heard it described that fear is basically an insult.
I call fear, because it's an insult to God because like you're not trusting Him.
Right.
But I call them the twin demons, fear and doubt. They go hand in hand. I call them the twin. Yeah. Those are twin demons that will keep you from accomplishing anything in life.
I agree. I just think that if you're afraid of anything, well, Jesus said, fear not. Fear not. Right. Like stop. Like there's an idea right there about anything. Now, can your brain come up with 10 million things a day to be afraid of? Sure. And then if you quell that fear, is your brain automatically looking for the next thing to fear? Okay, that's our survival mind. That's the thing. That's the thing that keeps us like our serpent brain or whatever it is, reptile brain. But here's the thing. So let's just say that there's the 2 things that I've gotten that are common. Like if you want to take the common things, don't be afraid of anything because and you don't have to go to the because. But I would just basically say I remember somebody told me, they said, would you agree that do you believe God's in charge of the universe? Yeah. Do you think God is capable of losing control of the universe? And I say no. And they say, well, fear is the belief that God has lost control of the universe. That's what that is. It's like, because if you're afraid of anything, then you must believe that God has lost control. Because if you believe in God, that God's control, there's never a reason to fear.
That's interesting. Now, is that fear or is that doubt? Or is it a combination of
fear? Is a form of, or doubt is a form of fear.
Form of fear, right.
Worry is a form of fear.
I guess doubt would be the byproduct of fear.
Yeah, if you wanted to create an umbrella, all those things, anything that's not faith is fear, I would say.
Right.
And anything, I've always heard it say that the human beings have 2 motivations for everything they do. Mm-hmm. One is love, one is fear. Mm-hmm. You either love something or you fear it, and that's it. And when so basically saying don't fear, Okay, and then of course the other message is love. Well, that's if you love, you're not going to fear. So I mean that's
right.
pretty. But the other most important thing I pulled out is that your words have power.
Yes.
If you know your words have power and you know not to fear, that's like the bulk of the lessons that come out of the Bible. Understand that your words have power.
Right.
And don't be afraid.
Right.
Right. And I think if somebody had told me that when I was younger, maybe in a religious sense, because I was raised Roman Catholic, and that's not how it is. They're like, my words have power, and you need to be afraid of me. Right? Like that's what the priests or whatever saying,
Yeah.
Like that, they kind of teach it, but it's like a little warped,
Yeah.
But that's that human quality. Humans have a ability to mess things up. We'll take an idea. I told you the story about how I was really antsy one time, and I think last time we were talking, and I was real antsy, and I was like, let me go for a walk. I'm just like, go for a walk. And I said, while I'm out there walking, I have a conversation with God.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I kept walking around. I walked about 2 or 3 miles, and I came back home. It felt great. It felt amazing. But the next day, my brain was like, I need to walk again. Like I attributed the walk being the thing that gave me the conversation I had with God. Right. So human beings, we have a way of taking the earthly thing and giving that
elevating it.
Right. And so that's definitely always it. But if you know that, I think that's the best thing. My words have power.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's things we can do. And remember, also, the other thing is we don't have to figure it all out.
Yeah.
You don't have to master it, because the thing is, once we know that, knowing how to act right is one thing, right? But then the frustration that can come by failure to that can be just as bad. You can condemn yourself too, just because you're not perfect and you're not going to be.
Right. I got a lady in the front office where I work at. She's like every morning, "Good morning, preacher." And I'm like, why do you call me that? Because 5 minutes from now, I'll be outside cursing like a sailor. She said, that's all right.
Yeah.
So that made me feel better, but at the same time makes me know that
I'm a sports fan
too. Do better.
I'm a sports fan, so I'm going to curse at my TV from time to time.
Were you pulling for the Knicks?
I was, because I love an underdog story. Not underdog, but I mean, say like a legacy.
It was an underdog because they've been so many years.
Right? But really, the other thing was last night another championship happened. The Carolina Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup in the NHL.
Wow, they did.
Yeah, they did. So they beat the Vegas Golden Knights, and I was happy about that.
Because you told me a couple weeks ago, I had no idea we even had a hockey team, and much less they made the Stanley Cup.
Right.
So
they won it last night.
Okay. Wow, awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jeff, tell us about where we can get some of your upcoming live performances, and also how we can listen to your original music that you have streaming.
Okay, yeah, the streaming stuff, you just search Jeff Liberty on Spotify or YouTube Music or iTunes. Yeah, it's all over the place.
Okay.
Everything, all streaming platforms. And as far as my shows, let's see, what have I got this week? Okay, my band is playing June 19th.
I say I've not seen your band yet.
Yeah, we're like a Texas blues band. So it's because it's Juneteenth.
And where's that at?
The Midlands Retired Military Association in Dalzell.
Columbia?
No, in Dalzell.
Something. I know about something.
We'll be playing blues there to celebrate that. And then I'm reaching for my calendar.
Okay.
I don't keep track of this stuff. I have to look. This is actually kind of a light week. I think I only have a couple of gigs for this week. But let's see. Look at my calendar. So, okay, go. So it looks like, all right. And then I'll be at Hazelwood Brewery in Lexington.
Where's that at?
You know where the Old Mill Brew Pub is?
Yeah.
It's down in that area. On the other side. Yeah, right down the road.
Right across the street? Mm-hmm. Well, not down the road, across the street.
And then Burnt Barrel. The Burnt Barrel used to be Anthony's. That'll be on Sunday.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I got a pretty good calendar there, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what advice do you have for aspiring musicians and songwriters, if you have any?
Decide what you want. Like if you're content, if you want artistic purity,
mm-hmm.
And you find that by choosing that, I'm going to do this style of music, I'm going to do all originals or whatever, just do that. But I find that I can't book a lot of gigs, but I'm okay with that I'd rather just work on my own art, and then you're totally cool having a day job and working on your art like that, then define that, right? If you decide that, okay, I want music to pay my bills, or I want music to pay off my house, or I want music, whatever, then understand that probably involves where you're just going to play what people want you to play, and don't take it personally. Reserve time for your own art, but just make a choice. Make a choice on what matters to you more. Because I know people they just want to play in public all the time, you know, and they don't care what songs they play. They don't even have a specific music. And you know what? That's awesome. Yeah, go do that, and I find them to be extremely successful. I kind of walk the line. I like what I like. But I'm also qualified to do a bunch of different cover material to entertain a crowd, and then I'll slip in my songs, what I like, here and there. So that's kind of walk that line there, and then don't stop practicing. Don't stop practicing.
Right.
It's like I guess if the idea is that you want to be a professional musician and that's what you want to do, then when you wake up in the morning, you need to wake up with that identity. Now you might do something later, like I might say, okay, I wake up, first thing I do is I do some guitar exercises, I write some stuff or whatever, and then I go to my job or whatever, I go, DoorDash or deliver pizzas or do whatever I do, come back to that. But eventually, when you keep waking up with this new identity, it will eventually become who you are.
Okay.
Yeah, that moment when we first wake up, we're really susceptible. Like the world hasn't jumped on us yet,
right?
And told us who we are.
Right.
We have an incredible amount of power at dawn to tell the world who we are, and to tell ourselves who we are.
That's amazing.
And I think that's really important because the world's quiet, it's just waking up just like we are, and we can say today I'm a successful professional musician. Then what would I do?
So self-affirmation.
For sure,
basically.
For sure. But there's a prayer function there too.
Yeah.
Because I said I am.
Yeah.
And there's so much power in those words.
Yes. Wow. What a revelation. I mean, I knew that, but it's fun to hear you say it, I guess.
Well, like I told you, I don't hypothesize it. Like I literally live this way because it has power.
Right.
And I might not even be the best, most faithful. You talked about how, having a loose tongue sometimes, and see, my reasons for doing what I'm doing, are because they work.
Right.
It's practical.
Right.
So I'm just following, the guidance that was given to me by Jesus, because it works.
Right.
And so that's the coolest thing is that I'm affirming every day, but there's something way more important about that. Like this, the knowledge that's been passed, through Judeo-Christian manuscripts. That's all. I'm not going to just limit it, It's practical. It's not. I'm not waiting for death for it all to kick in. Right. It can kick in now.
Right.
The power, and I don't have to die first.
So you're saying we can experience some heaven on earth, actually.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth
as it is in heaven. Right.
It's bold as all right. To make it more musical, it's bold as love.
Okay. I did borrow a quote from Hendrix.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got any closing thoughts you want to pass on before you close today?
No, I'm
you said a lot. This has been one of the most interesting interviews I've had.
Okay, well that's cool. I'm glad. Like I said, I hope it helps somebody.
Yes.
Even if it just helps you.
It is.
If it helps me, that's even better.
Right.
So.
Each one teach one.
That's right.
So Jeff, I'm gonna use I'm gonna probably upload one of your songs with your permission.
Okay.
So if you can send me one, I'll upload it for this podcast for the listeners, so they can hear your music.
Now, do you want lyrics or do you want instrumentals? Because I do instrumentals too.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, because I've been kind of working on instrumentals.
I like something. I probably like something with something vocals. Vocal track.
All right, yeah, I'll find some stuff for sure. Yeah.
All right, well, that's my interview with Jeff today, and Jeff has been a pleasure of mine, and I hate this had to end so soon, but
no, it's awesome.
So for your listeners, like I say, at the end of this podcast, I'm going to include some music by Jeff. Liberty. So for you to check out, and if you get a chance to see this guy, please see him because he's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Man.
All right. Okay, and now, as promised, here's a little song by Jeff Liberty. This is called Carrot Blues. Mr. Jeff Liberty, my guest for today.
Just like a carrot dangling in front of a mule. Well, you got the nerve to treat me so cruel. Well, I'm tired of walking, you know I ain't gonna be your fool. You're just like a carrot dangling in front of a mule. You're just like a cat toying with its prey. I ain't gone for that for another day. Well, I hope I got the strength to walk away. You just like a cat toying with its prey. Like a hook on a fishing line. I'm gonna take me a better look before I bite you next time. I realize you ain't never gonna be mine. You just like a hook on a fishing line.